Hello everyone and welcome back to my monthly horror roundup where I list off every horror movie coming out in the month of March, quickly tell you what they're about and where you can watch them. First up, on March 2nd, The Park comes to VOD. The Park's basic premise is, after a virus kills all of Earth's adults, rival children battle for control of an abandoned theme park. The next day, on March 3rd, Spoonful of Sugar can be seen on Shudder. This film follows a girl named Millicent, who is taking a semester off from her studies to concentrate on her thesis about children with severe allergies, which makes her the perfect person to take care of little Johnny, a sickly mute child who suffers from every allergy under the sun. Also on March 3rd, Consurrection will be available to rent digitally. After the alleged suicide of her priest brother, Grace travels to a remote Scottish convent where he fell to his death. Distrusting the church's account, she uncovers murder, sacrilege, and a disturbing truth about herself. 4 days after, on March 7th, Ghost Town releases on VOD. In the untamed west of Victorian-era America, a drifter takes a job as a barman in a small town. After a series of bizarre deaths, he soon finds himself the target of great suspicion. On March 7th as well, Rebroken drops on video on demand. This stars Tobin Bell, and it follows a devastated father who receives recordings from a mysterious stranger that allows him to communicate with his recently deceased daughter. A third film comes to VOD on March 7th, and that is Unseen. This is a Blumhouse film, and is about Sam, who receives a call from Emily, a blind woman who is running from her murderous ex in the woods, and must survive the ordeal with Sam acting as her eyes via video call. 3 days after that, Scream 6 comes to theaters. In the newest installment of my personal favorite horror franchise of all time, the survivors of the Ghostface killings leave Woodsboro behind and start a fresh chapter in New York City. Also on March 10th, The Ritual Killer comes to select theaters in VOD. This D-list movie shockingly stars A-list actor Morgan Freeman, and the film follows a detective on the verge of retirement who teams with a professor of African studies to track down a serial killer who is performing ancient black magic ritual killings. 3 days after, on March 13th, you can rent or buy Kill Her Goats. This is a throwback slasher featuring slasher icon and Jason Voorhees himself, Kane Hodder, playing a goat mask wearing killer wielding chainsaws. Kill Her Goat's synopsis is, Audra's graduation gift is a dream house, but it soon becomes a living nightmare when some uninvited guests come to her homecoming party who aren't very subtle about the fact that they don't approve of the home's new owner. By the way, I plan to review Kill Her Goats in 2 weeks, so hit the bell icon down below if you want to check out that review. Alright, next up on March 14th, The Lake comes to VOD. This is a giant monster movie about a child who finds a strange egg that years later emerges from that lake and threatens to kill everyone in town. Continuing our theme of double release dates, also on March 14th, Unwelcome will be on VOD platforms. This follows married couple Maya and Jamie who escape their urban nightmare to the tranquility of rural Ireland, only to discover malevolent and murderous goblins lurking in the gnarled ancient wood at the foot of their new garden. On March 17th, Leave can be streamed on Shudder. As an infant, Hunter White was discovered abandoned in a New England cemetery. She was wrapped in a piece of cloth covered in satanic symbols, and around her neck hung a wolf's cross pendant. 20 years later, she's obsessed with finding out why she was abandoned and who her real biological parents are. Leave is another film I plan to do a full review for in 2 weeks prior to its Shudder release, so again, subscribe down below to stay up to date with that review. On March 17th also, The Boston Strangler drops on Hulu. This stars Keira Knightley and is about Loretta McLaughlin, the reporter who first connected the murders and broke the story of the Boston Strangler, the city's most notorious serial killer. The next week, on March 21st, Children of the Corn can be rented digitally. This is the 11th attempt at a film adaptation of Stephen King's novel, and it once again tells the tale of the massacre of the adults of a small town in Nebraska by their children after the adults' irresponsibility ruins the crops and the children's future. On March 24th, the film Stalker releases on VOD. According to IMDb, Stalker has a simple premise of an actress who becomes trapped in an elevator with her stalker. Also according to IMDb, this film only has 3 total people in its entire cast, and one of the 3 is retired wrestler Bret the Hitman Hart. So fingers crossed we at least get to see him put one of the other 2 actors into a sharpshooter. Last on my list, on March 31st, The Unheard comes to Shudder. The Unheard story is, after a young deaf woman undergoes experimental treatment to regain her hearing, she fears she is not alone while recovering at her family's beach home. The woman also uncovers family secrets and experiences psychological strife and auditory hallucinations. Alright, of all the movies I just listed, my pick for my most anticipated horror movie for the month of March is Scream 6. This pick is the easiest pick I have ever made. Forget March, Scream 6 is my most anticipated movie of all of 2023. I not only already purchased my tickets and booked the entire day off work so I can marathon the other 5 films beforehand, I also purchased a full Ghostface costume I plan to wear to the theater and hopefully scare a few fellow moviegoers. I am just beyond excited to see this movie. And by the way, if you don't already, follow me on Instagram at horrorflickswithnick. If you want to see my earlier Scream 6 killer prediction, my future Scream 6 review, and any of my Ghostface costume hijinks from the 3 to 4 times I plan to see this movie on opening weekend. Anyway, those are the new horror movies coming out this March. In the comments below, please tell me what your most anticipated movie for the month is. Also, please leave a comment letting me know if I forgot any horror releases. Again, as always, I try to be as comprehensive as possible, but without fail, every single month, every time I do this, 1 or 2 movies slip through my cracks. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, Horror Flicks with Nick. Twice a week, I post horror reviews, commentaries, and short recommendations for horror movies you should watch on Netflix and other streaming services. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all back in April.